A possible rail strike later this week could affect GO train users in the GTA. Clara Pasieka joins us now from Union Station. And Clara, what do we know about how this could impact trains?
Well, Dwight, the clock is ticking on these contract negotiations. We're waiting to see if the lion's share of freight services in this country could come to a grinding halt. This is all due to a labor dispute between Canadian Pacific Kansas City Limited, Canadian National Railway, and the union that represents these workers, Teamsters. So we could experience a work stoppage Thursday there if they don't reach an agreement. The workers at CP have served strike notice that they're going to walk off the job just after midnight on Thursday, while CN has said it intends to lock out its workers at the same time unless there's agreement. So if this work stoppage happens, we'd certainly see a big impact on freight. But as you mentioned, we could also see a pretty significant impact for passengers here in the GTA using services like GO Transit. Metrolinx tells CBC that if there is a work stoppage, that the train services on the Milton line and the Hamilton GO Centre would also be suspended. Now, I had the chance to speak to some customers using the Milton line, and they say they're waiting and watching this with bated breath.
This week I'm with my kids and they're coming down to the camp. If the strike goes on, it would really affect us a lot. I mean, these camps would be canceled and I wouldn't know how I would get down to work. So yeah, it would be a big problem. I really hope that there's a resolution that, that the strike won't go on. That would be, I think it would be helpful for everybody who takes the commute.
We take the train every day and I don't want to drive in on Gardiner for sure. So I guess we'll have to stay home, and if my boss is listening, we are not coming on Thursday.
I'd either take like a different train, which means at least an hour on the bus to get to a different GO station, or have to commute like by car on the Gardiner, which no one wants to do.
Certainly, we know no one wants to add to what can already be a pretty long commute, but not everyone would be directly affected. Metrolinx is saying that those that use the Up Express or the Lakeshore West line would not be directly impacted, but they're saying that to anyone who uses GO, check in on Thursday morning to see if you are affected and what's come to pass here.
I like your commuter there, giving her boss the heads up, using us to do that. So, Clara, you're talking about the impact here on commuters, but you also mentioned freight. So what happens, what kind of impact will it have on business then?
Well, it can just have a huge impact on businesses large and small. CBC had the chance to speak to the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, who had this to say.
Oh gosh, the impact would be huge. Small and medium-sized firms are just not prepared for a further shutdown of a piece of Canada's infrastructure. Rail is super important, and the knock-on effects to other parts of Canada's transportation network is significant. So we're talking everything from those that are trying to export from Canada, agricultural commodities, all sorts of things, in addition to small, medium-sized firms, even in retail. There's so many goods that come into Canada, and rail is part of their journey to get to their final destination. We're just not in any shape to manage even a short-term blockade.
So all sorts of impacts we heard there, big and small, affecting all sorts of different size companies. He also said that, smaller companies could be even more affected. They can't, pivot to use a different method as easily. But we also know that the impacts are already starting because these rail companies preemptively have actually paused some shipments, things that, might be a little bit dangerous to leave in a rail yard if this goes ahead. Also some medications or things like that that need to be refrigerated that you couldn't just leave sitting there. Also not shipping out yet. So we're already seeing some of the impacts, but we'll be getting even bigger if this work stoppage comes to pass.
You are correct, and we appreciate the update. Clara Pasieka at Union Station. Thank you, Clara.